besties! Welcome back to another episode of From Blendeds and Besties. This is episode 7. Look at me, getting my shit together.
Look at you.
It's only been like 2 years.
I love that for you. Won't have to edit this one out. On today's episode, we do have a bestie who needs our advice.
I need a bestie.
Yep, she needs a bestie. So this one I did read last night. I'm going to skim it because it is kind of a long one. But I feel like this one's going to be interesting now considering you're a bio mom and a stepmom. So it's going to be interesting over the next few years to see like how your opinions change on things. I feel like if it changes.
Yeah.
Because she's still little right now. But I don't know. We'll see. And then today's episode, we are going to be talking about our birth stories. So stay tuned for that. But the writer wrote in here, she said, my husband and I have been together for 6 years in September. We got together after my ex and I separated when my ex and I's child was 3 months old. My ex is currently in a newer relationship. So her and her husband have been established for a long time, 6 years, and her ex...
She said her ex is in a newer relationship, but they're married?
I'm not sure if they're married. Oh, yeah. Wife. Okay. He says ex's wife. Been together for 2 years. So they've only been together for 2 years.
Okay.
Her and her husband have been together for 6. And, yeah, so... Okay, so her new husband, has known the baby since they were 3 months old. Okay. My ex's wife has a daughter from a previous relationship. My ex's wife, which would be the stepmom in this situation, has been continuously stepping on my toes, including that my ex and her forced my children to call her mom and then they lie to me about it. I had a conversation with my ex today where he told me I needed to, quote unquote, have respect for his wife as a mom too. As mom too, not a mom, as mom. Have respect have respect for my mom. Or my mom.
You're revealing who it is. I'm just kidding.
It's my mom. Hold on. Respect for his wife, mom. His wife.
His wife as mom. Too.
Yes, as mom. Okay. The four of us. This is another quote. The four of us are an equal parenting unit. She said that there have been hard feelings between the wife and her because of a conversation she had with her ex, in parentheses, not in front of the children, that she said the stepmom is not her real mom and the stepsister is not her real sister. She said the last quote she could admit came from a place of anger because the stepmom has been pushing a mom role in her son's life. I told my ex he can't force me to feel how he wants me to feel, and respect is earned. I'm having a difficult time because both my ex and his wife are stepping on my toes as a mom. We are planning dinner and drinks and to meet up to come up with a solution for the children's sake. How do you suggest I hold this boundary? Or do you think I'm being an asshole for not feeling okay in this situation? Any insight and any advice would be appreciated.
I feel like there's so much in there.
Yeah. Well, we can start with the fact that I think it's great that you guys are deciding to meet up and have a conversation.
That's a great first step. That's showing that you guys are willing to discuss it.
Yes, because some people don't even make it to that step. They're like, absolutely not.
No, for real.
So I think that's great. The fact that you guys are even willing to do that. Okay. One, okay.
I'll say which part are we diving into first?
I don't know. Okay. So I'm trying to reskim this real quick.
So diving into the whole forcing the kids to call her mom and lying about it. How are they forcing her? Are they saying that she needs to be called mom, or are they actually calling her mom and they're not correcting it? Yeah. I think those are two different things. Forcing, telling them that her name is mom, I think is wrong if they're using it and they're not correcting it. I think that's where it just needs to be kind of like let go. If the kids are choosing to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the kids who chose to do so.
I agree. When I was growing up, I adored my stepmom, and I definitely saw her as a mom. There were times I wish she was my mom.
Yeah.
I did call, my little brother used to call her mom, and I remember my mom getting very upset with my dad and calling my dad and saying basically
Chris?
the same thing, Chris. Yeah. Because Chris was like a baby. Like, I was 3 years old when I got a stepmom.
Okay.
When I got a stepmom. So Chris is 3 years younger than me, so he was like months old.
Yeah.
So he knew nothing other than Ashley, you know? So I remember my mom being very upset, saying that Ashley was forcing us to call her mom, and that's not the case. She's never, ever, ever, you know, forced us or asked us to call her mom. We just did. Not so much me, because my mom had extensive conversations with me about how she wasn't my mom and all these things. But Chris, Chris wanted to. And honestly, like, I kind of wanted to call her mom too, because she was a mom to me, and she still is to this day. Like, so I think if your children want to, I don't see a problem with it. But if they're, like, I don't know. I just don't understand. I get it if someone's, like, dating. Like, I remember when you and Mike were dating, and Michael would say things like, oh, she's my stepmom. And you guys had only been together for, like, 3 months. I'm like, she's not your stepmom.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like, I don't know. They're married. Like, that's his wife. And I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack in that situation, just because, while yes, the stepmom obviously isn't the mom, that I agree with, like, that's obvious. She is the mom figure in the household, so you kind of have to respect that aspect. There was something that you said in the thing. Oh, the whole, like, parenting. Was it parenting together? Or are they all? I don't know. Let me see.
He said they were a united parenting unit.
Yeah. So I, like, half agree with that and I half don't. And I don't know if this makes sense or not. Like,
they're a parenting unit and they are all equal, is what he said.
I kind of disagree with that, though. Because even though, yes, like, Megan, Mike, Travis, and I, we're all a parenting unit, all four of us together. But at the end of the day, Mike and Megan kind of, like, have priority, like, a higher percentage over Travis and I when it comes to decisions with Michael. Like, it's not 50-50 everywhere. Like, there's still the main parents, and you have to take that into consideration. So I think he's a little wrong in that. While, yes, they're all a parenting unit, at the end of the day, it's you and the dad together who makes those final decisions, not the step-parents.
Yeah. Like, for example, when Michael broke his leg and we were in the hospital, Mike and I were in the room.
We talked about this before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike and I were in the room. Like, that was the main thing. When Michael was getting put under for anesthesia, we were the ones talking to the doctors. Like, Tiffany and Travis were there, but they were in the waiting room. Now, there were times where, you know, Mike and I stepped out, so Michael could see that all parents were there for him. You know, you guys went in, and that's just because, you know, we all respect each other, and we wanted what was best for Michael. Michael, you know, loved to see that we were all there for him in his corner.
I forgot about that when Travis and I went in, and Michael's like, when I do this, it hurts.
I know.
I was like, then don't do that.
But yeah, like, I think the reason why we all work very well is because there is that underlying respect that she knows.
It's common.
Not that I get final say. That sounds horrible, but
you know your place, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we both have mom figures, but at the end of the day, like, Megan is the bio mom and I am the stepmom. Like, that. That's where we differentiate. Yeah. As moms, when it comes to, like, the boys, that, like, you don't see me going like, oh, but I'm the mom, I get to have a say. Like, that's where you overstep boundaries, I believe. Yeah.
Even when, you know, like, he's over at y'all's house, if there was something that, you know, you felt like I needed to, not approve, but, like, give my opinion on or whatever, you wouldn't just be like, oh, well, I'm the mom. Like, oh, I'm the mom here, so I'm going to make this decision. Like, she would reach out to me. If that's what I said, it's like there's an underlying respect. And since I know I have that respect, I trust her to, honestly, she wouldn't even have to, like, I trust her to make those decisions the most of the time, you know, like,
I think that's the thing, is the creating that, like, knowing it sounds so wrong to say it, but like knowing your place. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, because yes, you can be a bonus mom or a stepmom or like an additional mom and stuff like that, but like you have to know your place. You're not fully that actual like birth mom to get to make those decisions or get to, have full say.
Yeah, and I think, you and Mike should know that I make decisions truly based off of what I think is not just best for me, it's best for Michael, best for all of us, and yeah. So that being said, the comment of
what she said when she was angry. No, the way she said it was probably shitty. I can imagine that. But she also wasn't wrong.
Correct.
Yeah. The other child isn't the sibling of that child, which, yes, they're step siblings. Yeah. Maybe she said it in a rude way, but like she also didn't say anything wrong, but maybe the way you said it, and that needs to be at least corrected.
Especially if you guys are trying to have a parent, like you can't like pick and choose. And I think that's what like a lot of blended families or co-parenting families, like you can't pick and choose when you want to be a co-parenting family. It's either you guys decide like this is what we're doing, and then you all have to collectively work towards it when you're angry, when you're sad, when whatever. Yeah. Like you can't decide, okay, well, I want a blended family, like you guys are siblings and you guys are going to grow up together, and then when you get upset, yank it away and be like, no, actually you guys aren't siblings. Like it's not fair, and it's going to confuse the kids.
No, I completely agree. Oh, that was another thing I was going to ask, like how are the kids with her husband? Like if they're seeing him as a dad or calling him dad, like then I can see like you can't have your cake and eat it too, where I get the 6 years over the 2 years, but like he's seen as a dad and then she's not seen as a mom. Like,
well, I think that just goes back to like a lot of things, especially in like mainstream media and everything. Like the stepmom is like deemed as like, you're horrible for stepping up, you're stepping on toes, you're this, like they villainize stepmoms. But yet if a stepdad steps up, it's like, oh my God, what an amazing,
he's doing what he doesn't have to be doing.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be doing that, but he's stepping up as a great father, which I think is completely unfair.
No, I agree.
So, I don't know. There's so many women who are so quick to be like, oh, yeah, call him dad. Like, and then when it comes to the stepmom, it's like,
exactly.
She's stepping on my toes.
I think them having the conversation, especially that she said that the stepmom is a bio mom to another child. I mean, try talking to her mom to mom, I think is the biggest key.
Yeah, how would you feel, if you were in my situation?
Exactly. I think in any situation, things would be easier if you put yourself in that position to kind of see someone else's point of view.
Yeah, and talking to her mom to mom, I think would be great. Maybe instead of all of you having dinner, maybe you and the stepmom can go out and have coffee or something. Because I know, especially in the beginning, like whenever Mike was involved, and I mean, even still sometimes to this day, it can be stressful because Mike and I do butt heads occasionally, and we've gotten a lot better with communication, but it's honestly a lot easier when it's just Tiffany and I versus all four of us trying to voice our opinions, because even like sometimes, just 4 opinions is a lot harder to try to get to one solution than 2.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys could, have a conversation and see each other as women and mothers rather than the ex-wife and the new wife and all this, which I think really, really, really helps a lot.
No, I completely agree. Especially in that stance of just having that conversation. Megan and I talking versus, all 4 of us talking is a little bit different, because I think we all talk to each other in different styles, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially exes who will probably like assume what's going to be said next, or they know what that person is meaning or saying can influence a conversation.
Absolutely.
So definitely do that. But I don't think you're, what did you say, an asshole?
I don't think she's an asshole. I think you guys are on the right track.
Yeah. You just need to figure out some boundaries, and everyone has to figure out boundaries.
Yes.
The person included who's talking. Yeah. Or who just wrote that.
Yeah, and, like, I think the biggest thing for at least for all four of us, with Mike and I and with you and I, was the turning point in our friendship and our relationship is, like you said, like you stopped viewing me as the ex and started looking at me as Michael's mother and another woman.
Yeah.
And I think that was Mike and I's thing too. Once we realized that we were all working towards a blended family and we weren't trying to attack each other, we stopped looking at each other as each other's exes and, you know, oh, that's the person I divorced. And, oh, you know, and we started looking at each other as, that's my son's mom. That's my son's dad, you know, and realized we were all on a team. And that's what you have to remember at the end of the day is you guys are all working towards something.
Yeah, you're supposed to be working together, not against each other.
Yeah, for your kids. So that is our advice. I hope we answered your question. And I hope everything works out. I hope you write back and let us know how the drinks went. Not too many drinks because that could end badly, but
no, for real.
I hope it works out. Birthing stories.
Yay.
How do you want to do this?
I guess let's start in chronological order.
So, Michael, and I think yours is going to take a long time since yours is fresher.
Well, and I also feel like I've asked you questions based on your birthing stories that can influence my birthing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, each birth affects the other birth.
Okay.
You were clueless with Michael, so at least that's the first one.
Yeah. So, with Michael, my water broke.
Oh, how old you were? Start with that, because I know a lot of people were asking.
Oh, how old I was?
In that video, people were like, Megan looked really young, and they were like, yeah.
Someone said I was 20.
Yeah.
Or no, they said I was 20 when I got married.
Yeah. Oh, you saw that person? They wrote it all down?
Yeah, she was like, I'm trying to figure out, how old were you when you got divorced? How old? And I was like, ma'am, I was 18, not 20.
Yeah.
Your math is wrong. Because she was like, when did they start dating? If you guys have been
That's what I'm saying.
Like, her math was off. And she was, I don't know. I was just like, ma'am.
She was confusing me, too.
I know. I was 18 when I got married. We had Michael when I was 20. So we were together for 2 years. Michael was born in December. I turned 20 in July that year. I woke up, laid in bed, woke up, and thought, this is at 11 o'clock in the morning, Sunday. It was a Sunday, the 20th. Oh, the 19th.
The 19th.
Yeah, I woke up, and I sat up, and I was like, looking down, and I'm like, did I just pee myself? And I was like, oh no. And I was like, I think my water just broke. And Mike's like, no. And I was like, no, I think it did. And I was like, oh man. So then I got up, I held the water in. It wasn't a whole lot, it was a little bit. And I was like, okay, I went to the toilet, my mucus plug fell in there. Some of the water came out, and I was like, oh, cool. So I called the doctor. They were like, if you want to come in, come in. And I was like, right on. Contractions really didn't start yet, so I took a shower. I shaved.
You're like,
everything. I was like, man, this is great. I was like, wonderful. I shaved everything, took a shower. Like, we stopped at Tropical Smoothie on the way in. I got a smoothie. Mike's like, she's in labor. And the guy's like, that's great. I'm like, yeah. This was great. So I get to the hospital, and I'm like, hey, baby, my water broke. And they're like looking at me like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah. So I get there, and they're like, oh, you can't take that back. I did not know you could not bring food. I hadn't eaten, so I only had the fucking smoothie. I had 3 sips of it. Couldn't take it back. They took it. And I was like, oh, damn, this sucks. Hopefully this will go by quick. So I'm sitting there, and they're like, your water didn't break. And I'm like, it did. I saw it. Like, it did. No, it didn't break. And I'm like, okay. They're like, well, we'll keep you here for a little bit, because I was 2 centimeters dilated. And they're like, but if things don't get moving, we're going to send you home. And I was like, I'm not fucking going home. The baby's coming today. And they're like, no, it's not. I was like, whatever. So they had me walk around the hospital for a little bit. I was laying there, ended up getting to 4 centimeters. Still nothing really, like, I was having contractions and stuff, but nothing too crazy. I made it to... hours had passed, and they kept saying, they were like, oh, but I was growing a little bit at a time. It was a very, very, very slow process. Ended up getting to 7 centimeters, and they come and check me, and they're looking in there, and they're like, he's very, very low. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, no shit. And they like pushed him and the rest of my water came out.
That's so funny.
Cannot roll my eyes hard enough. They're like, oh, I guess your water did break. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking told you it did. So I got the epidural, and they said that they were so proud of me because they were like, you waited until you were 7 centimeters dilated. They were like, most new moms don't make it that far. And I was like, all right. Thank God I did, because right after that, my contractions, my stepmom was like, and I'm like, what? Because I had just gotten it. Yeah. And she didn't know if it had like kicked in yet. And she was like, I'm like, what? And she's like, did you feel that? And I'm like, feel what? And she was like, oh, thank God. She's like, your contractions are like going off the screen and going up. She's like, that one looked horrible. And I was like, oh, I didn't feel shit. Girl, I was there for 13 hours. 13 hours I was in labor. Slowly, just like it was like a slow little thing. And then, yeah, they just said, wait till you feel like you have to poop. And then I called a nurse and I was like, I think the baby's going to like fall out on the floor. I went in there, I pushed for like 25, 30 minutes, maybe like 25 minutes, not very long. They asked if I wanted a mirror, and I was like, no, please do not. And I blacked out. I remember pushing. I do not remember Michael being put on my chest.
Really?
I do not remember seeing Michael. I blacked out. I mean, I'm not like I passed out. Like, I just don't. My I don't know what kind of trauma my brain, I don't know.
I wish we could.
Yeah, so I don't remember any of that.
You blacked out like memory blacked out? Like you passed out?
No, I did not pass out. I just do not.
You just don't remember it? I
do not remember any of it. Okay. I remember pushing. I remember them telling me that I would have to push out the placenta and looking at it. I do not remember anything else.
Really?
Next thing I know, I was in recovery. Okay. And I was, he was in the little bin thing. That's all I remember from that. I do not remember them handing him to me. I do not remember being wheeled to another room. Nothing. I blacked out. So.
But you were in a lot of pain that your body just doesn't want to remember it.
I don't remember either. What I do remember is halfway through the epidural, it stopped working on half of my body. Right before I was about to push. I couldn't feel anything on the left side, but I could feel everything on the right side.
So weird.
It was very weird. And so they had to give me another push right before I started pushing. Because it was awful.
Oh, I love that.
With Bryce, I had a completely different experience. Another reason why I was kind of on the fence of having more kids, just because that was a little too close. Bryce was a high-risk baby.
You were set to be induced, right?
Yeah, I had to be induced. I was set to be induced. I wasn't induced. He came a little bit earlier. I had a fucking hematoma. I mean, I do have a hematoma right now, but I don't know. What the fuck did I have? It began with an H.
That's the reason as to why?
Yeah. Why
did you have something with your...
My placenta was detaching from the wall. Yeah. That wasn't the main thing, though. The placenta was detaching from the wall. And I had it's not hematoma.
I'm trying to think of...
I know, I can't... I honestly can't remember. I've said it so many times, and I don't know why I can't remember it right now. I don't know. I had something. I had something that made me high risk. Basically, when I was around 12 weeks pregnant with Bryce, I started gushing blood. It went all over the floor, all over my pants. I was working at the time, and I had to be rushed to the hospital. I thought I was having a miscarriage. I called Travis. He came in. I was in the hospital for hours. I was crying hysterically. They found out about the placenta thing, and then I had... Oh, I just had it. Oh, it begins with an H. Oh my God.
H.
It was a... I don't remember. I keep wanting to say hydrocodone, but that's not what it was. I don't know. I'll remember it at some point. I'm sure talking about the story, I'll be able to remember it. If not, I'll remember it and I'll insert it.
Maybe she'll type it in a text.
I know.
In the caption.
I can't fucking remember what it was. Anyway, so I had something. I was high risk with Bryce my whole pregnancy, and they kept telling me basically like I was going to lose him at any point. As long as they're like, we just got to make it. We just got to make it one more week, and then you're safe if you do have to go into labor. We just got to make it one more week. So I was terrified my entire pregnancy with him. And they told me I had fucking pregnancy diabetes. I don't think I had pregnancy diabetes. They lost my last round of paperwork. Yeah. And they told me just to take the stuff. Girl, I never had high sugar one time. Anyway, but because I had pregnancy diabetes, they told me I needed to be induced. So I was set to be induced on a Monday, which I think was like the 20th or the 21st or something. He ended up coming the Wednesday before. I had no idea. So I just had what I had again, but I forgot it. I was cramping all the time. Like, I was constantly having real contractions, like, not the Braxton Hicks, so I never knew, like, when I was going into labor, and it had been so long since I had given birth to Michael, I didn't remember what they fucking felt like. So, I was in labor all day on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Didn't know. But it would, like, come and go. Like, they weren't consistent. Every single time I called the doctor, they were like, we don't want to see you until they're consistent. Don't come until they're less than 5 minutes apart or 7 minutes apart or 3 minutes, whatever. I think it was like 5 minutes. Don't come in. And I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't. They never got any closer. Okay, I called Travis from work. He's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm in the fetal position on the bed. He's like, do you need me to come home? He's like, do you want to go to the hospital? And I was like, no. Like, I don't think I'm in labor. Like, I have these contractions and stuff all the time. Like, I think I'm fine. Like, it comes and it goes. Like, it's not that bad. Like, I'll be fine. Literally, like, in the fetal position. He's like, you don't want me to come home early? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, then I'm going to stop at Home Depot and look at washing machines. Okay, cool.
Love that for Travis.
So, he comes home at his normal time. Actually, I think he came home like an hour earlier because he said he was scared. And he's like, let's just go. Worst comes to worst, we could just go.
You get turned away.
Mind you, I know a lot of you aren't familiar with Florida. We lived in St. Pete at the time. And my hospital that I had to go to was in Tampa because I was working in Tampa. It's across a huge bridge. There's three bridges.
It's pretty far.
Yeah, there's 3 bridges that get you over to Tampa. Mm-hmm. They're always packed. It's horrible. And because I worked in Tampa, that's where my hospital was, and that's where my doctor was and everything. So
I still think it's saying that y'all did that.
Girl.
St. Peter.
I thought I was going to give birth while I was at work, because literally that day I was supposed to work, Wednesday, but I told my boss I was kind of nauseous. I was like, I don't really feel that good. And he's like, good, we've been trying to get you to stop working for a while now. But I hadn't worked there for a year yet, so I wasn't going to get paid on maternity leave. I couldn't get FMLA. I couldn't get anything. So I had to take as little as time off as possible so I could return back to work and, make money. Some chorionic hemorrhage. I had a subchorionic hemorrhage.
It's just how it popped out of you out of nowhere. I'm like, so you have to make money. Hemorrhage.
Somewhere in my uterus or wherever. And that's what made me, high risk. Anyway, so, we decided to go to the hospital. And Travis is like, let's go now. Because Travis was timing my contractions. They were, every 7 minutes. They said, don't come in until 5 minutes or whatever. Travis was literally, and I didn't believe him. I was like, no way. He's like, you're going to have a contraction in 3, 2, 1. And I did. And I also had horrible acid reflux the entire fucking pregnancy. And of course, he came out with a full head of hair too. So I was like, I have to get something because I know they're not going to give me anything in the hospital. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm starving. There was an accident on the Howard Franklin Bridge, which is the middle bridge, not the bridge that we take, but there was a car flipped over. I actually have the news article. And because of that, it made all the other bridges back
full
up.
Of traffic,
In 5 o'clock traffic, that was already bad. A 30-minute ride across the bridge took us 2.5 hours.
Fucking insane.
And I'm in labor the entire time. Travis says they're not getting any closer than 7 minutes though. And I still stopped at CVS.
You stopped in CVS in St. Peter in Tampa?
In Tampa, the one right by the hospital.
Okay.
by Women's. And Travis is like, don't go in there. He's like, you're going to have the baby in the toilet. He's like, don't go in there. And I was like, I need something. I was like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, I need some sort of antacid in case they don't give me anything or they send me home. I was like, I need to pick up something. I don't have any more at home. I could have swore that they were going to turn me around. My water didn't break. Like, my contractions.
The CVS baby.
My contractions were consistent, but they weren't close. So I'm like, whatever. So I waddle into fucking CVS. And Travis is like, and he's in the parking lot. You're going to have a contraction in 3. And you just see, like, the doors open. And I'm just like, Courtney. Bathroom. Girl, I could have had the baby right there in the motherfucker. Girl.
You really took your time. You're going
I really
to get
did.
Antacid. You're going to use the bathroom. You're just
I know. Looking back, it was not good. So I get my antacid. I take it and I get in there and I call Michael. I call Mike and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna talk to Michael.
Oh, yeah, like, Michael,
sure.
everything.
Yep. And I was like, hey, just want to let you know I'm in the hospital. I told Mike too. I was like, I'm in the hospital. You guys might have to keep him an extra day if I end up staying. If not, whatever. Told Michael, and the nurse looks at me and she's like, oh, you're in labor? Like, yeah, okay, you sound like you're good, because I'm talking to Michael having a normal conversation, Yeah. She checks me. She's like, well, I'm going to check you, or whatever. So I get off the phone with Michael. I'm like, hey, I got to get checked. I'll probably talk to you later. Okay, cool. Love you, bye. So Travis is outside calling someone. I don't know who the fuck was he on the phone with. And she checks me and she looks at me and she was like, hey, did you want to get the epidural? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I want that. And she's
yes, please.
She's like, you need to go right now. And I was like, what? She's like, you're 8.5 centimeters dilated, and you're gonna have this baby within 20 minutes. She's like, you need to go right now. And I'm like, what?
That is so funny.
So they rush me. They don't even really tell Travis anything. They're like, we gotta go, follow me. They rush me into the room. The nurses and doctors come rushing in. I get flipped over on my side. They're telling Travis, do not let her move. The anesthesiologists are like, someone get her. There's a million people in there. They flip me on my side, push the anesthesia. Travis is squeezing me so hard because he was so afraid I was going to move. This all happened within 5-6 minutes. Yeah. The doctor told me, they're like, okay, well, let's do a practice push real quick. I do a practice push. They stop me mid-push, and they're like, do not push anymore. We need to get the doctor in here. And so they're like, are you still feeling contractions? And I'm like, yes. They're like, oh my God, it's not gonna kick in time. So they take something and they give me an extra dose of the epidural. It felt like lightning going down my legs. It was only on one side though. It was weird. It was awful, but I didn't feel anything after that. Girl, 3 pushes, that baby was out. 3. She's like, you barely made it. You barely made the time for the epidural. She's like, yeah, I was 10 centimeters, by the time I got back there and was getting, right before, actually, a couple minutes after I got the epidural. I was 10.
Damn. Calling it close.
Yeah. So, I remember everything from him. I remember seeing him come out. He peed on me.
As soon as he came out.
He did. And yeah, so that is Bryce. Everything ended up being fine. Yeah.
You remember when they put him on you and all that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's crazy that
I actually got a picture. I have a little picture of him on me, which I never got one with Michael. Yeah. Yes, I do remember everything after that. I remember the people coming to see me in the room. I remember them handing him to me being in the wheelchair, being sent over.
Did you have to push out the placenta for him too?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, actually push. There wasn't what they did with you. Yeah. It was you have to push, ma'am. And I'm like, really? I guess. So,
Did you see that? It was a full-blown face question.
She just wants to be nestled on her mama.
Let's sleep over here. And Bryce was born on, because I know we said Michael's. Bryce was born on.
He was born on Wednesday, April 17th. Or no, it was April 5th. I think I was going to say 2017.
April 7th.
Girl, I'm so tired. It's been a day already. It's April 5th. And he was born, I think, at 9:45 at night.
I was going to say, because I remember when Michael was speaking to you. It might have been the next day, because he was like, mommy had the baby, yesterday or something like that. And I was like, oh, damn. And I'm like, what do we do with Michael? Because I didn't know if you guys wanted him there or not. Because some people want their kids there for the birth of their other kids.
No, I figured we would just, I think we switched over that Monday anyway, and I was like, we'll just pick him up then. Because, I was in the hospital for a couple days. But yeah, very, very quick. Scary quick. Like, too close. Too close.
Could have had a CVS baby.
Girl.
Could have wrapped him around in the 50 million, inches of receipts that they give you.
It was, for real. It was way too long, or way too close at the end. Like, how quickly I went from, I think the cutoff is, I think it's like 9 centimeters. I'm not sure what the cutoff is where you can't get the epidural anymore, but it was within minutes.
I don't know. They say it. I draw a blank with that. I have no idea. I, too, had to be induced.
Well, I didn't get induced. I was supposed to be induced. Yeah.
I was also supposed to be induced. I didn't get induced.
That cervix pill thing, that was not being induced?
No.
Oh.
I never got Pitocin.
Oh. Is that being induced? I see.
Yeah. The pill thing that they gave me was just to thin my cervix.
Well, let's pick up where we kind of left off on the last episode talking about your pregnancy. So we kind of left off where...
Where did we leave off?
We left off... I only know this because I had the podcast. We left off where... I think it was right at the end. Like, we had the false alarm. And I say we because... I don't know why I'm saying we.
Did we talk about the photo shoot? We did.
We talked about the photo shoot.
Because I was what we did.
Yeah, so you had the false alarm on Wednesday. We did the photo shoot. No. You had the false alarm on Tuesday. The photo shoot was Wednesday, and they were saying you were going to have the baby within 48 hours.
Yes.
We were all hoping it would be Friday.
Yes, because you guys were making bets. So I started getting the contractions, and my cervix was starting to ripen on Tuesday.
Ew, I hate that phrase.
My cervix was ripening. I was dilating. Didn't have the baby on Wednesday. We did the photo shoot. Thursday, everyone checked in. No baby. Friday.
And your contractions completely stopped, too.
Yes. Thursday and Friday, there was nothing. Megan was sending me via DoorDash, or whatever it is, Uber Eats, pineapple everything.
The red leaf tea.
Yup.
Anything and everything I saw on Google that could get her to go back into labor.
Yeah. Just because I knew that I was already dilating and my cervix was already opening up, I knew that the process was starting, and I was hoping to have her come naturally so I didn't have to deal with the Pitocin, because everyone who was induced told me it was horrible. So I was terrified. So I was willing to try everything. Saturday came around, still nothing. I'd get little pains here and there where we're like, oh, but then nothing.
She was walking, bouncing. Every single time I called her, she was on the little bouncy ball. Like,
no, the worst. Oh, yeah, that video I sent you.
Yeah.
Trying so hard. Sunday came. I think I was set to be induced at
6.
I got a phone call. They said that they were going to push it back. I was so pissed.
I know.
So pissed when I got that phone call. I was already nervous as it is. They switched it to 9 o'clock at night. So I took a shower, got myself ready, went to the hospital. They said, which I don't know if this is for everyone because I didn't ask anyone, they were going to give me a pill that I put behind my cheek to thin my cervix. My cervix was halfway there, but they just wanted it a little bit further. Apparently your cervix has to be thinned out completely before you get induced, that's what they told me. So I wasn't going to get the Pitocin until the next day. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. 9 o'clock at night, they gave me the whatever pill it is, put it behind my mouth.
And then you called me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, then Megan came over.
Megan came over. Megan was like, hey, or Tiffany was like, hey, do you want to come film some TikTok? She's like, I'm going to be here for a while. And she's like, I can have visitors. And I was like, yeah.
I wasn't in labor and delivery. We were just in a room just waiting to get induced the next day. So Megan was able to come at any time. We didn't have visiting hours. So it was like, what, 11 o'clock at night when you came?
I got there a little before 11, and we just kind of chatted for a little bit, like hung out, like checked out the room, like
we did the
talked
TikTok
for a while. We did a bunch of TikToks. That's pretty much it. Yeah. And then I left at like
1 o'clock in the morning.
I left at 1:30. I didn't get home till 2 o'clock. I had to take the kids to school the next day.
So we did TikToks. There was contractions going on. I couldn't feel them for some reason. We would see them go up on paper, but then I was like, oh, it's a contraction. I don't know. It felt very weird for me. And then I would think I would feel a contraction, and I wasn't feeling a contraction. So it was lovely. Megan left. I was getting ready for bed. I think it was around 3 o'clock in the morning that I was like, okay, let's get for bed because tomorrow's going to be terrifying. So I go to lay down on my side. Mike goes to go to sleep next to me. Literally didn't even have my eyes closed for more than 2 minutes before I'm like, oh shit. It just felt like hot water in the middle of the bed. And I was like, oh, is this what it is? Because remember, I asked everyone what it felt like to have their water break.
Did you feel like a pop or anything? Or was it just like, oh no, why is there warm water?
No, 100% like a pop. Like,
you felt a pop?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel one.
I've peed myself plenty of times to know what it feels like when people were like, it might feel like you peed yourself. It did not feel like I peed myself. I'm the expert in that one that I can tell you right now. It did not feel like that.
So you felt like
it felt just like if I sat on a water balloon.
Really?
You know when you feel like it, it's like a pressure. Like it was like a pressure, and then just boom, it was a gush, and then the gush wasn't stopping. It was like gush, gush, gush. So I was like laid down like on my side, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, I think my water broke. And Mike was like, are you sure? And I was like, oh. And then I was like, ew. Because it just kept going. So I was just basically sitting in a very big pile of water. And I was like, oh my God, this is so gross. Mike is running out. Nurses, her water broke. And they're like, it's okay. It's just
calm
the start.
down.
Yeah, like it was just the beginning. I was not popping out the baby right then and there. So they come in and they're like, your water broke. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I feel really disgusting. Can I just get up and just go pee? Because that's all I wanted to do was go pee. And I was like, oh my God, this is so gross. And they were like, okay, well, now we just go from there and see how it goes. The person who was supposed to do my cervix check again wasn't ready. So they were like, if you want to go to sleep, just go to sleep. If you want an epidural, we'll have the epidural person come and talk to you. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So maybe a few hours later, epidural came in and they were like, do you want to start the epidural process? So I'm like, you're already here, might as well. So he started it, put it in there. There was no issues. They were finally coming in to... Wait. No, it wasn't like that. My water broke because I forgot I still needed to be induced. So they were coming in to give me the Pitocin. And they're like, all right, we're going to start inducing you. Let's do the Pitocin. And that's when they were like, you're fully dilated already. I went from...
Oh, I remember that.
From 2 centimeters dilated straight to 10. I never I was never in the middle. They were like, you're fully dilated. Like, you're going to start.
Yeah, that was at like... Well, I called Mike. So I dropped the kids off at school. And I texted Mike. And he said that your water had broke.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit. And then at... I think it was like 11. He called me and he was like, guess what? And I was like, what? He's like, she's like, she's at 10 centimeters. And I was like, what? Because we had talked originally I can't remember what you were. I think you were at like 2 or 3 or something.
That's where they were getting ready to tell me that I needed. Yeah. I was going to get the Pitocin.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, that cervix thing didn't do shit. But
yeah,
because I was like, what the fuck? And so when he called me at 11 and he was like, she's at 10. And I was like, are you fucking serious?
Because I know when they were coming in ready to like do I don't know how they do the Pitocin, if they put it inside or not. They're like, okay, we're going to get ready to do the Pitocin. Before we start, we need to check you. And they were like, oh, never mind on the Pitocin. And that's when I was like, oh, am I like starting to go like higher and higher? Because I know she said it was always, if I was improving by a few centimeters or something, they'll just come back and check. And check. But if I wasn't improving, I would get the Pitocin.
Yeah.
And she's like, nope, you're good. And I'm like, oh, am I finally like 1 centimeter higher? She's like, no, you're all centimeters. And that's when I was like, what? I was like, oh, I went from 3 to, because I was telling Mike, I was like, oh, I'm finally at 4 or 5 or something. Mm-hmm. She's like, no, you're fully. And I'm like, what do you mean?
I know. I told Mike, I was like, do I need to go pick up the kids? Like, what am I doing? He's like, no, not yet. He's like,
that's what it was. Yeah. But I was at 10 centimeters, but we still weren't in the pushing process. Epidural person.
He said you were going to take a nap, is what he said.
Yeah. Had me take a nap. They told me to rest. They needed to get the doctors or whatever, they were going to start seeing when I needed to push, which I don't know what determines when I need to push or not. So they do the epidural thing. I get the epidural, and then they're like, okay, now you can go to sleep. I went to sleep. That's when they woke me up, because they woke me up from my sleep. They're like, ma'am, it's because Mike wasn't in the room. They're like, ma'am, you need to start pushing now.
I think he was on the phone with me.
No, because he was getting drink.
Oh.
He went to get an energy drink, if I'm not mistaken, with my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they were not in the room and they came in quickly. I guess they can see the monitors outside and they were like, it's time.
I just remember being on the phone. It was you, your mom, and Mike in there, and you were like mid-push.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and he's like, do you want me to put you on speakerphone? And I was like, yeah. I know. You can go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm just getting excited.
Yeah, so they say I'm getting ready to push, which I panicked because Mike wasn't in the room, and I did not expect to not have him in the room when I was getting to push. I don't know what they saw that said, it's time to push.
Oh, I know what it was. It was baby's heart rate, wasn't it?
No, that's when they had brought everyone in.
Oh.
But I don't know what they see to tell you, like, it's time to push. Like, I don't fucking know.
Maybe they just wanted to get you out of there. I don't know.
They saw something.
Oh, I mean, I know that, like, your water can only be broken for so long.
Maybe. I don't know. I never asked. But anyways, when Mike wasn't there, they told me it was time to push, so we called him quickly. Let's get ready to push. I was in the standard, legs wide up position, ready to push. They had me pushing like that for maybe an hour. That's when her heart rate started dropping. And mind you, so we had music going on pretty kind of loud because, you know, we were going to do the whole, like, I can listen to the song lyrics to distract myself from the pushing. And listening to the music, they kept telling me whenever you felt like you needed to pee or poop, you need to push. I never felt like that. I did feel like I needed to pee, so I was pushing that way. Nothing was really happening or nothing was changing. They had to turn off my epidural because her heart rate started dropping. That's when everyone came in and we were panicking. I've never seen that before where you're just pushing just fine and out of nowhere there's 10 nurses in your room and they're all like, shut the music off, and they're like, we need to do this, do that. They're like positioning me to the side. They're like, just turn this way, don't push, just stay calm. But no one's saying anything. And you know, Mike is like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like freaking out because I'm like, what are we doing? They said that they needed to put a monitor on her head. So they like insert it and like corkscrews into her head. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Don't even know what it is or what they're doing, but just like do what you need to do. And then they suggested that I turn around and try pushing in a different manner. So I was like, okay, we'll just do that. Double, triple check before I even push. I'm like, is she okay? Because I'm not going to continue doing this if her heart rate drops. And they said that she was happier the other way, so I was doggy style. On all fours. All fours doggy style. But they had me pushing on all fours. That's when you called. When I was on all fours for the first time. Because I remember. Because he has... Where's your phone? So I'm on all fours. And he has like... Whosever phone it was. I don't know if it was my phone or your phone. He's talking to you while he's holding my hand here. I'm here like with my head in the bed shoved out. And he goes, do you want to speak to Mike?
No!
And like the phone's already here. So even if I was like, I don't fucking want to speak to her, like you're already there.
For the record, I did not know she was pushing when I called. I was trying to figure out when I should go to the hospital because I had just picked up the kids from school. I was like, are we going straight there? Mm-hmm. And where are you? Because he told me to call.
Yeah.
So I had picked up the kids from school. It was on a Monday. They get out early on Mondays.
Yeah. They get out too.
And so I was like, where am I going? Like, what am I doing? And Tiffany's mid-push, and he's like, do you want to talk to her?
He's like, Tiffany, do you want to speak to her? Speaker, because you're right next to me while I'm on dog, and that's where you're like, go! I'm like, no, Tiffany, go!
So when you pushed her out, you were in the regular, you weren't...
No, I was turned back around. So when she was crowning, I was doggy style. Oh. And then as soon as I was crowning, that they can see her head, and they told me to wait for the doctor to come in. They turned the doctor's
So she was like out, like neck down?
Mm-hmm. My eyes were closed through the whole entire thing.
Oh, really?
For some reason. I was like this the whole entire time. I just didn't want to see anything. I don't know. I was nervous. So I don't know. I don't know what they saw. I think they said they could see her head, but I don't know how much of her head can be seen. Doctor came in, turned me around. She said they were going to do a quick shot of Pitocin to like help at the end. So I was like, okay, whatever. Did a few pushes. And it's funny because I did the pushes, and then they're like, okay, you don't have to push anymore. But I'm like, I don't hear her or like see her. And I guess that's when her head is out because I could feel when they were having her shoulders come out. And I'm like, oh, bitch.
So could I.
I'm like, oh, this is a little wider than I thought.
They were like, the head's out. Gotta get the shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I don't think it stretches like that.
I know, exactly. I was like, hurry up and just get the rest of it. It felt like a very uncomfortable poop.
Yeah.
Because I could feel when her shoulders were coming out, and I was feeling like as they were getting her, and I was like, just pull her all quick enough already, because it did freaking hurt. And then that's when they put her on top of me and took the little heart rate thing off. And I remember she cried for like 1 second, and then she stopped crying. And then whatever nurse was here cleaning her off of me, I'm like, is it normal that she's not crying? Is it normal that she's not crying? She is not crying. They're like, no, she's fine. And I'm like, but she's not crying.
Oh my God.
Oh, and then when she was crying, it was gurgling crying, because that was scaring me too. I was like, do you need to like clear out her? And she's like, no, she'll clear it out herself.
You're
I was like, yeah, but can you help her?
If she doesn't know, she was literally just born 2 minutes ago.
Panicking from that. And then, man, they were just quick. They're like, all right, where's the boob? And that nurse grabbed her little head and just shoved her in the boob. And I was like, am I breastfeeding already? Like, holy shit. And that's when I was like, do I need to push for the second part? And they're like, no, you don't need to push for the placenta. And she was just doing these like belly things. And I was like, man, what are you doing?
Weird.
And she just kind of like a pizza dough was like rolling out my belly to get the placenta out. And that hurt like a little more than I wanted it to.
Yeah, that's weird. I pushed. I pushed both of them out. Because I was pissed. Because I was like, especially with Michael, I remember that. Because I was just like, because I just got done pushing. Not nearly as long as you pushed. But I was like, I gotta push again. Yeah, fucking pushed both of them out.
Nope. She said I didn't have to. She was just rolling it out like dough. And I was like, ooh, this is very uncomfortable. I wanted to push to just get it over with. But she said no. And then I felt when she finally got it out.
Because you pushed for so long. Maybe they saw all those hemorrhoids.
There was one hemorrhoid, okay? It was one hemorrhoid. You bitch.
It's okay. I had hemorrhoids too, so I can't say nothing.
Yeah, I felt when it came out too, and it was just like another gush. And I was like, ugh. And I could feel it touch the side of my thighs.
Oh, that's gross.
Like, that's gross. And she was like, what do you want? She's like, do you want to keep it or save it? And I was like, no, thank you.
Ew, yeah, it's really gross. Did you look at it?
Fuck no.
No. Oh,
nope, nasty. I looked at the baby on my titty, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly they just like shove it on there. You're like, you're already like so in shock, and though it's like, oh, welcome to breastfeeding 101. Just shove it on there.
It's just how effort. I don't even think to this day, after doing breastfeeding for 7 weeks, can latch on the baby as fast as that nurse like grabbed the back of her head, tilted her head back, and boom, right on the tip.
Crazy.
And I was like, and mind you, it's like a whole stranger's on my tit already. Like, god damn, let me at least say hi first.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Like I said, I blacked out after Michael, so I could not tell you if he cried. You have to ask Mike if he remembers. Really? I do not remember. Bryce, he cried when he came out, but yeah, same thing. As soon as he got on my belly, he didn't cry anymore.
Yeah, it was just like very quiet. I'm like,
his eyes were open.
Her eyes were open too.
Yeah,
her little like alien looking eyes.
Yeah, I got pictures of him. He's just like hairy as fuck.
I saw her back hair when they had put me on top.
I was like, damn, this baby's hairy. And they're like, it'll come off. Guys, it never came off. He still got a hairy back. Okay.
Oh no. Yeah, they had her on me. She was on me for a while, and then they were like, do you want to do all the checks here? Or do you want us to like check her over there? And I was like, you guys can just check her over there. Mike could go with her, so I could just like take time to rest. They had to stitch me up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, is that it? Oh, I needed to use the bathroom. Because I remember I was like, I need to get up and use the bathroom. And I was like, can I do that? Because I know people say you can't walk after an epidural. And she was like, well, how do you feel? And I was like how I felt before I got here. I feel fine. Like, my butthole hurts. I think I said that so much that day. I was like, my butthole hurts, but I feel fine. Even while pushing, when they were like holding my feet and stuff. Because I was nervous. I was like, do I like fight against your hand? Because there was one point the doctor was holding me when all the everyone came in. I'm sorry, the nurse was holding me when everyone came in. So I was like, do I push against your foot? Do I push back? Like, do I hold on? I'm like, what am I doing? And then at one point when Mike and my mom were switching, I kind of was just holding my own leg in the air, and I'm like, who is gonna grab it?
I had one of my legs with Travis, and like I said, I was completely numb. I could not feel anything, and it was fantastic. I had one leg up, and Travis had my other leg, and the nurse told him that he needed to let go of my leg because he was squeezing my leg so hard because he was so nervous and trying to make sure I was staying still that he was going to break my leg.
That's insane.
They were like, you're going to break her leg, sir.
Just never felt like you were saying to feel contractions like any 3 to 5 minutes. That never happened for me. Even when they were looking at the monitor for me to push, they were like, push when you feel a contraction. And I was like, well, I don't know then, because I've been feeling this all over. And they were like, push when you need to poop. And I'm like, I don't need to poop. I'm like, I don't know when to push. And I'm like, I'm just going to push when I feel like I need to pee. And they were like, good enough. And I was like, okay.
They didn't stick their finger in there?
No. Can you feel contractions like that?
Girl, I guess that's what they did for me and Bryce, because I couldn't feel shit. And they were like, yeah, they were like,
guessing.
Yeah, she stuck her finger in there and she was telling me when to push. She's like, okay, you have one coming, push.
They were like, okay. Every time you had a peeing sensation. Because I remember there was times where we were all having conversations. Mind you, I'm doggy style, butthole up in the air.
Talking to mom, just like...
Yeah, everyone's talking. I wasn't talking. Everyone else was talking. And I remember it was Mike talking to the nurse about something. And I was like, I need a pee. And they're still talking. I was like, I need a pee. Yeah. And they were still talking. I was like, I need a pee. We're going to push. And then that's when everyone got ready and stuff like that.